My best friend's perfect marriage is a meticulously crafted illusion, and I'm the only one who knows the truth he's hiding from his wife, which involves her own brother. This one has my mind buzzing with possibilities already. I'll get started on crafting that immersive story for you. It's going to be a wild ride. Alright, where do I even begin with this? It's been eating me alive for weeks, months really, and I just need to get it out somewhere, even if it's just screaming into the void of the internet. Maybe someone out there has been in a remotely similar situation, though God, I hope not for your sake. My best friend, Liam. We've been thick as thieves since we were like 10. Shared everything, scraped knees, first crushes, terrible teenage fashion choices, dreams of getting out of our dead-end town. We were brothers, not by blood, but by everything else that mattered. He was the best man at my, now thankfully finished, wedding, and I was his when he married Chloe. And Chloe. God, Chloe. She's sunshine. Genuinely. One of those people who just radiates warmth and kindness. She's smart, funny, beautiful in a really natural, unpretentious way. When Liam met her, it was like watching a rom-com play out in real life. He was instantly smitten, and honestly, so were all of us in our friend group. She just fit. They were the couple. The one everyone else looked at and thought, yeah, that's what I want. Their marriage, for the past 8 years, has been what I can only describe as aspirational. They bought this gorgeous old house a few years back, renovated it together, sanding floors and picking out paint swatches like it was a fun weekend hobby, not the seventh circle of hell it is for most couples. They host these amazing dinner parties, always laughing, always touching, a hand on the small of her back, him leaning in to hear her speak even if she's right next to him. They post these disgustingly cute photos from their hikes and international trips. You know the type. Perfect. Almost too perfect, if I'm being honest, but I always chalked that up to a tiny bit of jealousy on my part, because who wouldn't want that kind of seamless partnership? Liam is successful, runs his own graphic design firm. Chloe is a pediatric nurse, which just adds to her saintly aura. They talk about starting a family soon. Picket fence, golden retriever, the whole American dream. I've always been their biggest cheerleader. Genuinely happy for Liam, for both of them. And then there's Ethan. Chloe's younger brother. He's a few years younger than us, maybe late 20s now. A bit of a free spirit, kind of drifts between jobs, always has some new passion project. Nice enough guy, if a little aimless, maybe? He's always around, part of the package. Family dinners, holidays, weekend barbecues. Liam, especially, seemed to take him under his wing. Gave him some freelance work when he was between gigs, always invited him out with us, vouched for him when Ethan needed a loan for some business idea that never quite panned out. It seemed like a really solid, supportive brother-in-law dynamic. Liam would often say, Ethan's good people, just needs to find his footing. Chloe obviously adored her brother, and it seemed like Liam did too, treating him like the younger sibling he never had. So, that's the stage. The perfect marriage, the adoring wife, the supportive best friend, me, the chump, and the slightly wayward but loved brother-in-law. The first crack in this idyllic picture, for me, happened about 6 months ago. It was subtle, so subtle I almost dismissed it. Liam had been stressed. More than usual. He'd snap a bit, then apologize immediately. He was drinking more than he used to, not like falling down drunk, but always a whiskey in hand, even on a Tuesday. When I asked if everything was okay, he'd brush it off. Work stress, mate. You know how it is. Big client, tight deadlines. Chloe, when I'd see her, would sometimes have this little flicker of worry in her eyes, but she'd cover it quickly and say, "Oh, Liam's just under a lot of pressure. He'll be fine." I believed them. Why wouldn't I? The real bomb dropped on a random Saturday night. Liam and Chloe were having a few people over, a casual get-together. I got there a bit early to help set up. Chloe was in the kitchen, humming and making her famous 7-layer dip. Liam was supposed to be grabbing more ice from the garage. After about 15 minutes, Chloe asked, "Hey Mark, can you see what's keeping Liam? And grab the good beer from the garage fridge while you're at it." "Sure, no problem." I headed out to the detached garage. They'd converted half of it into a sort of man cave/workshop for Liam. Music was faintly playing from inside. I pulled open the side door, expecting to see him wrestling with an ice bag. Instead my brain sort of short-circuited. Liam was there, all right. And so was Ethan. And they weren't looking for ice. They were kissing. Not a peck. Not a bro, I love you, man kind of thing. This was passionate, intense. Liam had Ethan pressed up against a workbench, hands tangled in his hair. It was like walking in on something so private, so completely unexpected, that my feet just froze to the concrete floor. I must have made a noise, a gasp, a scuff of my shoe, I don't know. They sprang apart, eyes wide with sheer panic. Liam looked like he'd seen a ghost. Ethan just looked terrified. "Mark. What are you doing out here?" Liam stammered, his face flushed, his voice unnaturally high. I couldn't speak. I just stared. My mind was racing, trying to make sense of what I'd just seen. Liam and Ethan. Ethan? Chloe's brother? The pieces were falling into place with a sickening thud. The stress. The drinking. The weird tension I'd sometimes felt but couldn't name. We were just... Ethan started, then trailed off, looking at Liam for help. "Looking for the vintage LPs I told you about, Ethan," Liam cut in, a little too quickly, a tremor in his voice. "Mark, mate, you surprised us." Vintage LPs. Right. That explained the make-out session. My shock was starting to morph into something else, something cold and heavy in my gut. Disbelief. Anger. Confusion. I finally found my voice, or a version of it. Chloe sent me for ice. And beer. I remember my own voice sounding distant, flat. Liam ran a hand through his already disheveled hair. Right. Ice. Of course. He avoided my eyes, fumbling with the freezer door. Ethan just stood there, pale and silent, staring at the floor. The air was thick with unspoken words, with the raw, jagged edge of a secret violently exposed. I grabbed the beer from the fridge, took the ice from Liam without a word, and turned to leave. "Mark, wait," Liam said, his voice low and desperate. I paused at the door but didn't turn around. "The guests are arriving, Liam. Chloe's waiting." And I walked out, leaving them in the suddenly cold, sterile light of the garage. My heart was hammering against my ribs. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the beer. Back in the house, Chloe was laughing with the first arrivals. She smiled brightly at me. "There you are. Took you long enough." I forced a smile. "Sorry, got sidetracked." I couldn't look her in the eye. How could I? My best friend, the man she adored, the man who supposedly adored her, was just making out with her brother. Her brother. The rest of the evening is a blur. I drank too much, too fast. I watched Liam and Chloe. And God, they were good. The performance was flawless. He'd put his arm around her, kiss her temple, laugh at her jokes. She'd lean into him, her eyes full of love and trust. It was sickening. It was like watching a beautifully produced play, knowing the set was about to collapse and crush everyone on stage. Ethan was a ghost. He hovered at the edges of conversations, nursing a single beer for hours, his face drawn. Chloe, bless her innocent heart, kept trying to draw him in. "Ethan, come try this, you'll love it." Or "Ethan, tell them about your new photography class." He'd mumble a reply and shrink back. Once, I caught his eye across the room. The look he gave me was a mix of terror and... was it a plea? I don't know. I looked away. How could Liam do this? To Chloe? With her own brother? The betrayal was staggering, a multi-layered labyrinth of deceit. And I was now, unwillingly, a part of it. The keeper of their rotten secret. The next day, Liam called. And called. And called. I ignored him. I needed time to process. My mind kept replaying that scene in the garage. Every perfect moment I'd witnessed between Liam and Chloe over the years now felt tainted, fraudulent. Their beautiful house felt like a stage set. Their loving glances, a well-rehearsed script. What about Ethan? Was he a victim in this? Was he being manipulated? Or was he a willing participant in this charade? The way Liam had him pressed against the workbench didn't look like coercion. It looked mutual. Consuming. After 2 days of silence, Liam showed up at my apartment. He looked like hell. Dark circles under his eyes, hadn't shaved. "Mark, please. We need to talk," he said, his voice hoarse. I let him in. What else could I do? He was still, despite everything, my best friend. Or he had been. "How long, Liam?" I asked, not even bothering with pleasantries. He sank onto my couch, burying his face in his hands for a moment. "A while," he finally mumbled. "Longer than I care to admit." "A while? What does that mean? Months? Years?" My voice was sharper than I intended. It started a couple of years after Chloe and I got married," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "It wasn't planned. It just happened." "Happened?" I scoffed. "Things like this don't just happen, Liam. You're married to his sister. His sister who adores you. Who trusts you." He looked up at me then, and his eyes were filled with a pain so profound it almost made me flinch. "Almost. I know, Mark. You don't think I know that? You don't think this eats me alive every single day?" "Then why?" I pressed. "Why are you doing it? Why are you doing this to Chloe? To Ethan? To yourself?" He let out a long, shaky breath. "It's complicated." "Complicated?" I couldn't help the incredulous laugh that escaped me. "Liam, you're having an affair with your wife's brother. That's not complicated, that's... I don't even have a word for it. Catastrophic? Depraved?" "I love Chloe," he said, his voice cracking. "I do. I never wanted to hurt her." "Then how is this not hurting her? This whole marriage, this perfect life you've built, it's a lie, Liam. A meticulously crafted, elaborate lie." "It wasn't supposed to be like this," he said, looking down at his hands. "With Ethan. It was. I don't know. Different." He understood parts of me that no one else did. Not even Chloe. I felt a wave of nausea. And Ethan? He's okay with this? With deceiving his own sister? Liam hesitated. He struggles with it. A lot. But he feels what I feel. For me. This was too much. The casual way he said it, as if that excused everything. "So, what's the plan, Liam? You just keep this up forever? Keep playing happy families with Chloe while you're screwing her brother on the side? Wait until she finds out and her entire world shatters?" He flinched. "I don't know, Mark. I don't know what to do. That's why I'm here. You're the only one who knows. The only one I can talk to." And there it was. The burden, officially passed to me. I was his confidant now. His co-conspirator by silence. "What do you want from me, Liam?" I asked, my voice tired. "Absolution? Advice? You want me to tell you it's okay? Because it's not. It's so far from okay. I needed someone to know who wasn't. Him," he gestured vaguely, meaning Ethan. I'm drowning, Mark. You're drowning? I stood up, pacing my small living room. What about Chloe? She's going to be collateral damage in whatever shipwreck this is. And Ethan. He's tangled up in this mess too. I thought about Ethan again. He'd always seemed a bit lost, a bit vulnerable. Was Liam exploiting that? Or was Ethan a more active participant than Liam was letting on? I know, Liam said quietly. I know. I've thought about ending it. With Ethan. 100 times. But then. I can't. And I can't. I can't lose Chloe either. You can't have both, Liam, I said, even though it was painfully obvious he was trying to. That's not how life works. Sooner or later, this is going to blow up. And the longer you wait, the worse it's going to be. We talked for hours that day. Or rather, he talked, and I mostly listened, a knot of anger and disgust tightening in my chest. He told me about the stolen moments, the near misses, the constant fear of discovery. He painted a picture of a man trapped by his own desires, too weak or too selfish to make the hard choices. He cried. He begged me not to tell Chloe. Give me some time, Mark. Please. I need to figure this out, he pleaded as he left. Just time. Time. What a joke. How much time did he need to dismantle a bomb of his own making? The weeks that followed were torture. Every interaction with Liam and Chloe was strained. I felt like I was walking on eggshells, constantly afraid I'd say or do something that would give away the horrible secret. Liam would look at me with this pleading, haunted expression. Chloe, blissfully unaware, would chatter on about their plans, their future. Each cheerful anecdote, each loving glance she sent Liam's way, was like a knife twisting in my gut. I saw Ethan a few times too, at larger family gatherings Chloe organized. He avoided me like the plague. If our eyes met, he'd look away immediately, his face pale. He looked like he was carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. And in a way, he was. He was betraying his sister in the most intimate way possible. How did he live with that? How did either of them? The illusion Liam had crafted was truly meticulous. Publicly, he was the doting husband. He'd ramped up the affection with Chloe, if anything. More flowers, more surprise date nights, more gushing posts on social media about his amazing wife. It was almost manic. Was he trying to convince himself? Or was it a desperate attempt to shore up the facade before it crumbled? I started noticing things I'd been blind to before. The way Liam's eyes would sometimes follow Ethan, even when Chloe was talking to him. A certain tension when all three of them were in the same room that I'd previously dismissed as just family dynamics. The way Liam would sometimes overcompensate with Chloe, his affection almost performative. I learned more about Ethan, too, in fragmented bits from Liam. Ethan had apparently been struggling with his sexuality for years, terrified of his family's reaction, especially Chloe, whom he idolized. Liam had been the one he confided in. And somehow, that confidence had morphed into this. Liam claimed he was trying to help Ethan accept himself, but it sounded suspiciously like grooming, or at least a gross abuse of trust and power, regardless of Ethan's later complicity. Liam was older, more established, married to Ethan's sister. The power imbalance was glaring. The ethical dilemma was consuming me. Do I tell Chloe? How could I? It would destroy her. It would shatter her image of her husband, her brother, her marriage, her entire life. The fallout would be catastrophic. But how could I not tell her? She was living a lie. She was investing her love, her life, her future, in something that wasn't real. Didn't she deserve to know the truth, no matter how painful? My loyalty to Liam, a friendship that had spanned decades, was warring with my sense of justice, my compassion for Chloe. He was my best friend, yes, but what he was doing was indefensible. One evening, about a month after the garage incident, I was at their house. Chloe had invited me over for dinner, She was trying out a new recipe. Liam was late, supposedly stuck at work. Ethan was there, helping Chloe in the kitchen. It was awkward. He was quiet, almost sullen. Chloe, however, was her usual bubbly self. "Ethan's been such a help," she said, beaming at her brother. "He's actually got a real knack for cooking when he applies himself." Ethan mumbled something noncommittal. Later, while Chloe was on the phone in another room, Ethan cornered me in the hallway. His eyes were red-rimmed. "Mark," he whispered, his voice urgent. You can't say anything to her. Please." "Ethan, this is insane," I said, keeping my voice low. "You know that, right? What you and Liam are doing is going to destroy her." "I know," he hissed, pain flashing in his eyes. "You think I don't know? But if she finds out, it'll kill her. And it'll kill me. She'll never forgive either of us." "And you think this is sustainable? Living this lie?" He looked away, anguish etched on his face. "Liam. He says he's going to fix it. He just needs time." "Time for what, Ethan? For a miracle?" I felt a surge of frustration. Was he really this naive? Or just this trapped? "I don't know," he said, his voice breaking. I'm so messed up, Mark. I love my sister more than anything. But Liam, I don't know what to do." He looked utterly lost. Before I could respond, Chloe came back into the room, smiling. "Everything okay, you two? Whispering secrets?" she teased. Ethan forced a shaky smile. "Just guy talk, sis." The ease with which he lied to her face sent a chill down my spine. Liam finally arrived, full of apologies about a work crisis. The rest of the dinner was excruciating. Liam was overly attentive to Chloe, almost fawning. Ethan barely ate, pushing food around his plate. I felt like an imposter, an unwilling audience member to this grotesque charade. The pressure was building inside me. I wasn't sleeping well. I was irritable. My own life felt like it was on hold, overshadowed by this colossal secret. I started avoiding Liam's calls more often. I made excuses not to see him and Chloe. But then Chloe would call, concerned, asking if I was okay, if I was avoiding them. Her genuine care just made me feel worse. One Saturday, I decided I couldn't take it anymore. I had to talk to Liam, really talk to him. I drove over to their house unannounced. I needed to see him, to try and make him understand the damage he was causing, the ticking time bomb he was sitting on. I used my old key to the back door, something I hadn't done in years, but I knew they wouldn't have changed the locks. I walked in quietly, calling out, "Liam? Chloe? You guys home?" Silence. I walked through the kitchen, into the living room. Still nothing. Maybe they were out. Then I heard a faint sound from upstairs. A muffled noise, like crying. My heart lurched. Was it Chloe? Had she found out? I crept up the stairs, my footsteps muffled by the runner. The sound was coming from their master bedroom. The door was slightly ajar. I pushed it open a fraction more, peering inside. And my blood ran cold. It wasn't Chloe crying. It was Liam. He was sitting on the edge of their bed, his head in his hands, shoulders shaking. Spread out on the bedspread in front of him were baby clothes. Tiny onesies, little Neato booties, a small stuffed animal. And next to them, several pamphlets about IVF and adoption. Chloe had mentioned, casually, a few weeks ago that they were starting to think seriously about a family. I hadn't paid it much mind then, lost in my own turmoil. But seeing Liam like this, surrounded by the symbols of the future he was supposed to be building with his wife, the future he was actively sabotaging. It was devastating. He wasn't just a villain in this story. He was also a man in agony, torn apart by his own actions. It didn't excuse what he was doing, not by a long shot. But it complicated things. It made him more human, more tragic. He looked up then, and saw me standing in the doorway. His face crumpled. "Mark," he choked out. "Chloe. She wants a baby. We had an appointment with a fertility specialist last week. She's so excited." I didn't know what to say. I just stood there, watching my best friend disintegrate. "How can I do this to her?" he whispered, his voice raw with self-loathing. "How can I bring a child into this mess?" "You can't, Liam," I said, finally finding my voice, though it was gentler than I expected. "You know you can't. Not like this." He nodded, tears streaming down his face. "I know. I have to end it. With Ethan. I have to. For Chloe. For this." He gestured vaguely at the baby clothes. "Do you mean that?" I asked, needing to believe him, but a cynical part of me was already doubting. "Yes," he said, his voice firming slightly. "Yes. I have to. I don't know how. He's going to be devastated. And God, Mark, I do care about him." "More than you care about Chloe?" I asked, the question hanging heavy in the air. He looked down. "It's different," he mumbled. "She's my wife. My life, what it's supposed to be. Ethan is. He's something else. Something I can't explain." "You need to choose, Liam," I said. "You can't keep stringing them both along. And you can't keep lying to Chloe, especially not if you're planning to have a child with her. She deserves a husband who is fully committed to her, not one who is secretly in love with her brother." He spent the next hour telling me about his internal battle. His genuine love for Chloe, the life they'd built, the future they'd planned. And his equally genuine, if deeply problematic, feelings for Ethan. He confessed that the affair with Ethan had become more emotionally intense than he'd ever intended. It wasn't just sex, they had a deep connection, a shared understanding. He felt seen by Ethan in a way he didn't with Chloe, despite his love for her. It was a mess. A heartbreaking, gut-wrenching mess of his own making. "I'm going to break up with Ethan," he said finally, wiping his eyes. "Tonight. I have to. Then I need to figure out how to be the husband Chloe deserves. If I even can be. If she'd even want me if she knew." "She deserves the truth, Liam," I said, though the thought of that truth coming out still terrified me for Chloe's sake. "Whatever you decide, eventually, she needs to know what she's dealing with, who she's married to." He nodded, looking utterly defeated. "I know. One step at a time." I left him there, surrounded by the impossible choices he had to make. I felt a sliver of hope, but it was fragile. Could he really do it? Could he untangle himself from Ethan? Could he salvage his marriage, or was it already too far gone, built on a foundation of lies? The next few days were quiet. I didn't hear from Liam. I didn't hear from Ethan. I hoped, desperately, that Liam was following through, making the painful but necessary changes. Then, about a week later, Chloe called me, her voice frantic. "Mark, have you seen Liam? Or Ethan? I can't reach either of them. Liam didn't come home last night. He sent me a text this morning saying he needed some space, that he was staying at a hotel. Ethan's not answering his phone either. I'm worried sick. Did they have a fight? Liam's been so stressed." My blood turned to ice. He didn't come home? No. And he won't tell me where he is. He just said he needs time to think. About us. About everything. "Mark, what's going on? Do you know something?" Her voice was trembling. I felt a surge of panic. This wasn't how it was supposed to happen. Liam wasn't supposed to just disappear. He was supposed to fix things, not make them worse. "Chloe, I don't know," I lied, my own voice unsteady. "I haven't spoken to him in a few days. Let me try and reach him. I hung up, my heart pounding. What the hell was Liam doing? Had he broken up with Ethan, and it had gone badly? Or had they run off together? The thought seemed too dramatic, too cliché, but suddenly, anything felt possible. I tried calling Liam. Straight to voicemail. I tried Ethan. Same thing. I spent the rest of the day in a state of high anxiety. Chloe called me several more times, each call more distressed than the last. I felt like a complete heel, offering her meaningless reassurances while knowing the devastating truth that was likely behind all this. Late that night, my doorbell rang. It was Liam. He looked broken. Utterly and completely shattered. His eyes were swollen, his clothes rumpled like he'd slept in them. "She knows," he said, his voice a hoarse whisper as soon as I opened the door. "Chloe knows." My stomach dropped. "What? How? Did you tell her?" He shook his head, stumbling into my apartment. "No. Not intentionally." He collapsed onto my couch, the same spot he'd sat in weeks ago when he first confessed. "What happened, Liam?" I urged, my mind racing through worst-case scenarios. "I tried to break up with Ethan," he began, his voice flat, devoid of emotion. "Like I said I would. I went to his apartment last night. It was brutal. He didn't take it well. He cried. He begged. He said he couldn't live without me." Liam paused, swallowing hard. "And then he threatened to tell Chloe everything if I left him." I swore under my breath. "And? What did you do?" I panicked," Liam admitted, his face ashen. "I told him he wouldn't. That he wouldn't hurt his sister like that. We argued. It got loud. He was hysterical. He started throwing things. Oh God, Liam." "And then," Liam continued, his voice barely audible, "Chloe showed up." My breath caught in my throat. "What? Why? How did she know to go there?" "She'd been trying to call Ethan all day, worried about him too, because he hadn't been answering her. She said she had a bad feeling. She knew he'd been down. So she decided to check on him. She has a key to his place." Liam closed his eyes, as if replaying the scene. "She walked in. Right in the middle of it. Ethan was screaming at me, telling me I was a monster, that I'd ruined his life. And I was. I was trying to calm him down, telling him we had to be quiet, that people would hear." "And Chloe heard it all?" I whispered, horrified. He nodded, a single tear tracing a path down his stubbled cheek. "She just stood there, in the doorway. Her face. Mark, I'll never forget the look on her face. Confusion, then dawning horror, then just utter devastation. I could picture it. Chloe, sweet, trusting Chloe, walking in on her husband and her brother in a screaming match that revealed their affair. The betrayal would have been unimaginable. Ethan. He just fell apart," Liam said. Started sobbing, saying he was sorry, that he never meant to hurt her. And I just froze. There was nothing I could say. Nothing. What did Chloe do? She didn't scream. She didn't cry. Not then. She just looked at me, then at Ethan. And then she said, very quietly, "Get out. Both of you. Get out of my brother's apartment. And Liam, get out of my house." And she walked out. Silence descended on my living room, thick and heavy. The bomb had finally gone off. And the blast radius was even wider than I'd imagined. "So, you came here?" I asked eventually. "Where else could I go?" he said, his voice choked with despair. "I've lost everything, Mark. My wife. My Ethan. My home. My life. It's all gone. Because of me." For the first time, I felt a sliver of pity for him, not just anger. He was a wreck. He had made horrible choices, unforgivable choices, but he was also clearly in immense pain. But then the image of Chloe's trusting face, now undoubtedly shattered, flashed in my mind, and the pity receded, replaced by a grim sense of justice served, however painfully. "What about Ethan?" I asked. "I don't know," Liam said. "After Chloe left, he just collapsed. I tried to talk to him, but he wouldn't look at me. He just kept saying, 'Go away. Leave me alone.' So I left. I don't know where he is or what he's doing." The next few days were a whirlwind of fallout. Chloe, true to her word, had kicked Liam out. She was staying with her parents. She refused to speak to Liam. She also, understandably, refused to speak to Ethan. Her family was in turmoil. Her parents were apparently devastated, trying to support Chloe while also dealing with the shock of Ethan's involvement. Liam stayed with me for a few days, a ghost of his former self. He barely ate, barely slept. He just replayed the events over and over, torturing himself with what-ifs and if-onlys. I tried to be a supportive friend, but it was hard. Hard to listen to his self-pity when all I could think about was Chloe. I reached out to Chloe once, a carefully worded text saying I was so sorry for what she was going through and that I was here if she needed anything. She replied with a simple, "Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. I just need some time." I also found out, through a mutual friend, that Ethan was also staying with their parents, in a separate part of the house, essentially on suicide watch. He was completely broken. The guilt and the shame, combined with the loss of Liam and the devastation he'd caused his sister, had pushed him to the brink. The perfect marriage was not just an illusion, it was a toxic lie that had poisoned everyone it touched. About a week later, Liam moved out of my place and into a soulless corporate apartment. He started seeing a therapist. He told me Chloe had finally agreed to meet with him, but only with a mediator present, to discuss the terms of their divorce. I saw Chloe a few weeks after that. We met for coffee, at her request. She looked changed. Thinner, her eyes shadowed, but there was a new steeliness in her gaze that I hadn't seen before. The warm sunshine was still there, but it was tempered, clouded. "Thank you for meeting me, Mark," she said, her voice quiet but firm. "Of course, Chloe. How are you holding up?" It felt like such an inadequate question. She gave a small, wry smile. "As well as can be expected, I guess. Some days are better than others. Some days I just want to scream. Or hide under the covers and never come out." "I can't even imagine," I said, and I truly couldn't. "The hardest part," she said, staring into her coffee cup, "isn't just Liam. It's Ethan. My own brother. How could he do this to me? With my husband? I feel like I don't know either of them. Like my whole life has been a lie." Her voice cracked on the last word, and for a moment, I saw the raw pain she was trying so hard to contain. Did you know, Mark?" she asked suddenly, her eyes piercing mine. "Did you have any idea?" My heart hammered in my chest. This was the moment I had dreaded. Lying to her felt like another betrayal, but the truth. Would it help her, or just cause more pain, making me complicit in her suffering for months? I took a deep breath. I owed her the truth. Or at least, my version of it. "Chloe," I began, choosing my words carefully. I knew something was wrong with Liam. He was stressed, distant. I knew he was unhappy. But I didn't know. I didn't know the specifics of this until very recently. Right before everything came out. It wasn't the whole truth. I omitted the garage scene details and the months of knowing something far more specific. I told myself it was a kinder version, one that didn't add to her burden by revealing my own agonizing silence and making her question my friendship too. Maybe it was cowardly. I don't know. She searched my face for a moment, then nodded slowly. "He told me you were the only one he talked to about His struggles, she said, a hint of bitterness in her voice. I guess I'm glad he had someone. Even if I wish it had been me he was honest with. We talked for a long time that day. She didn't ask for details about Liam and Ethan, and I didn't offer them. She mostly talked about her own confusion, her anger, her grief, the loss of her marriage, the loss of the brother she thought she knew, the loss of the future she had envisioned. She told me Ethan was also in therapy, that he'd written her a long letter, full of remorse and self-loathing, begging for her forgiveness. I haven't read it yet, she said. I'm not ready. As for Liam, she was resolute. It's over, she said. There's no coming back from this. How could there be? The trust is gone. Everything is gone. She was sad, but also surprisingly strong. It was like the destruction of the illusion had, in a strange way, freed her. She was no longer living a lie, even if the truth was excruciating. It's been a few months since that conversation. The divorce is proceeding. Liam is a shell of his former self, immersed in work and therapy, trying to pick up the pieces of his shattered life. He calls me sometimes, usually late at night, just to talk. Our friendship is different. Strained. The ghost of his betrayal, and my complicity of silence, hangs between us. I don't know if it will ever be the same. How could it? Ethan is apparently doing a bit better. He's moved into his own place, found a new job. Chloe told me she finally read his letter. She said she still hasn't spoken to him, but she's thinking about it. He's still my brother, she said, her voice laced with a complex mix of pain and lingering affection. Maybe someday. Someday we can find a way through this. But not yet. And me? I'm still processing. I carry a lot of guilt. Guilt for not saying something sooner, even though I don't know if it would have changed the outcome or just made it happen differently. Guilt for being the unwilling keeper of such a toxic secret. Guilt for my mangled, half-truth to Chloe. I look back at all those years, all those perfect moments Liam and Chloe shared, and I see them differently now. Not as a beautiful reality, but as a fragile, painstakingly constructed illusion. An illusion that ultimately couldn't withstand the weight of the truth. It's a stark reminder, I guess, that what you see on the surface is rarely the whole story. And that perfect is often just another word for hiding something. I don't know if Liam will ever truly forgive himself. I don't know if Chloe or Ethan will ever fully heal from the shrapnel of Liam's choices, of their collective secret. I guess the only certainty is that nothing will ever be the same for any of us. And sometimes, when I'm alone, I still see that image, Liam and Ethan in the garage, their faces illuminated by a single bare light bulb, the moment the perfect illusion began to crack and splinter, right before my unwilling eyes. And I wonder if there was anything I could have done, or should have done, to stop the inevitable explosion. I probably will never have an answer to that. I just have to live with it.